Welcome back. You're making good progress through this course now, and you're now in section 3, the dark side, knowing yourself at the deepest, darkest level. And in this section, you'll learn what the dark side means in this context and why it matters. You'll also learn what your own dark side is. We'll discuss the power of the dark side, and you'll learn how to use your dark side in the right way. Lecture 9, the dark side, definition and importance. Now, the dark side can mean many different things in the world of personal development and psychology, and so the first thing I'd like to do is to define exactly what I mean by the dark side in this context. And Mark Twain once said, "Everyone is a moon and has a dark side which he never shows to anybody." And although that's a very old quote, it's actually a really good explanation as to what I actually mean by the dark side. It is literally that part of you that you never show to anybody. And so for our purposes, the dark side is the side of you that you keep hidden away from the world and that only you know about. Or at the most, only 1 or 2 people in your closest inner circle will know about. But generally it's that part of you that you keep hidden away from the vast majority of society and the vast majority of the world. And in many cases, if not most cases, it's that part of you that you keep hidden away from everyone. And this is why it's called the dark side. It's not dark because it's bad, it's just dark because it lives in the shadows of the person that you present to the world. It's hidden away in the dark so no one can see it, and that's why it's called the dark side. Not because it's bad or nasty or horrible or evil, it's just because it's hidden away. It lives in the dark of the person that you present to the world. And understanding your dark side is incredibly important to knowing yourself, simply because the dark side is a significant part of who you truly are at your core. I'd say it's a relatively small part of who you are, but it's very significant because it's almost like your natural untamed instincts. It's the purest, rawest version of who you really are. Unlike many aspects of ourselves, it's one of the few parts that hasn't been tainted by society or other people's opinions and judgments, or your parents or colleagues. It's not tainted by anything. It's very pure, very raw. And if you remember when I talked about why knowing yourself is so important near the beginning of this course, one of the things that I said is that what you don't know about yourself controls you. And this is another reason why I wanted to cover the dark side, because the dark side, if you aren't aware of it and you don't control it yourself, it can end up controlling you. So if you aren't aware of your dark side and you don't take control of it, it can at best lead you to a mediocre life of mediocre happiness, and at worst, if your dark side is completely controlling you instead of you controlling it, the dark side then can actually lead you to some pretty dark places. In other words, it can lead you to failure. It can lead you to grinding your life into the dirt, and that's going to create a lot of unhappiness in your life. I first heard of this concept of the dark side in this context from a guy called Tim Grover, and that's him. And Tim Grover is the CEO of Attack Athletics and author of a book called Relentless. And one of his quotes about the dark side in his book is this: "Deep inside all of us, there's an undeniable force driving our actions. The part of us that refuses to be ordinary. The piece that stays raw and untamed." And that's the point here. Your dark side is the purest and rawest version of who you really are at your core. As I said before, it's a relatively small part of who you are at your core, but it's the purest and rawest version, which is why figuring it out and understanding it is a huge part of self-awareness and getting to know yourself. So acknowledge and embrace it, because when you do, you can use it to become more productive, more motivated, more successful, and above all else, happier. You really can use it to maximize your happiness and maximize your life. And the dark side can be things like your secret desires. Maybe you've got secret desires for money, for power, for sex, or fame. It could be your ego, it can be your desire to be the best, it can be your love of alcohol or gambling, it can be your lust for excitement and adventure. It can be many different things. These are just a few examples. As I said before, the dark side is not bad or good, it just is. It just is a part of who you are. It can be almost like your instincts telling you what you want and driving you to get it. For example, if you've ever felt like you're destined for great things, that's your dark side talking. If you've ever felt that you should be doing more with your life than you currently are, that's your dark side talking. If you've ever felt an urge to win at something, or that nagging feeling that you're wasting your life in your current job that you hate, or you have a burning desire to hit a particular goal, that's your dark side talking. Your dark side can be as simple as the way you feel, or indeed who you become when you drive a supercar or win at tennis. It can be to do with who you become when you step into a work environment or onto the sports field, or who you become when you have a deadline to hit. The dark side is almost like your alter ego, but this time we're not talking about split personalities or being someone that you aren't. This is about understanding that your dark side is just a different part of the real you. Clark Kent's dark side is Superman. Bruce Wayne's dark side is Batman. Peter Parker's dark side is Spider-Man. Now these may be fictitious superheroes, but I'm simply making the point that your dark side can very much be used for good. It can be used to become a better person, to become more productive, to become happier, to achieve meaning and purpose, and to find complete and utter fulfillment in your life. And by the way, everyone has a dark side. We may all have different kinds of dark sides involving many different things, but nevertheless, we all have a dark side. And it's now time for you to become self-aware of this very important part of who you are.